We were doing the largest project that had ever been done open shop in the west of the Mississippi in the United States, the Anatole Hotel. The project gets started, the general contractor's up, the building is up, and all of a sudden this budget of $25 million is $43 million. And I knew that Trammell did not know how much the budget was. His project manager was not keeping him informed. And the contractor and Trammell got crosswise, and we couldn't get a decision. I knew that Trammell was getting ready to go to the Himalayas to work with the monks on Zen for 6 weeks. And if we lost him and didn't know what to build, I mean, he was talking about an 800-seat auditorium, an acre of mezzanine, 8 air-conditioned tennis courts. I asked the general contractor if he would let me go see Trammell. The trust thing came up. Trammell said, "Ben, I've got 15 minutes, and then I have to catch the plane to the Himalayas." He said, "You have a list there of things. Some of those things are your decision to make. You make those decisions, and I will pay for them." He said, "Some of those decisions are my decisions to make. You tell me what those are, and I'll make those and pay for them." And he said, "The reason I do this is because I trust you." The trust had begun with Jack Lowe Sr., and he trusted me. I had to make it right. And I think it's the same thing with our employees. We have to make it right by being trustworthy. And within that, I made a mistake. And it was $18,000, something that had to be taken care of. And I went in and they were doing it themselves, and I went up to the guy running and I said, "Hey, what are they doing down there in the lobby?" He said, "They're insulating the pipes." And I'd recommended we take that off. And I said, "Well, I recommended that to Trammell, so I'll go get a check." I said, "It was $18,000. I'll go get a check for the $18,000 and bring it to you." A lot of people thought I was crazy. I went straight to the office, got a check for $18,000. He said, "You don't have to." Delivered it to him and handed him to him. What I think we do is we try to do what we say we'll do. We try to be trustworthy and extend trust. I think one of the biggest things of that is admitting when you make a mistake. And once you get the mistake on the table, then you ask the team, whether they're the team that you report to, the team that's your partners, or the ones that report to you in the classical way, to help you solve the problem. And I think that's probably admitting mistakes and being very honest about that. I can remember one that we made early on when I first got to TD. We had been guaranteeing 40 hours of work for our employees. After World War II, when Jack Sr. started the company, there was a continuous rise in the economy. Well, all of a sudden, we hit a big drop. And we suddenly found we could no longer guarantee 40-hour employment because the company would fail. The company would go under. And so what we changed it, I think Jack Lowe Sr. or Jr. may have come up with this, but we changed from saying we will guarantee you 40 hours to saying we will guarantee to offer you all the training that you will take so that you will be employable. Because we didn't want to tell a fib, we didn't want to tell a lie, but we found that we could not perform against the 40-hour guarantee. Jack Lowe Sr. Was in the throes of the Dallas Independent School District integration situation, and we had a problem come up on a Trammell Crowe job. You've heard me speak about Trammell. Lamar Griffin, my boss, was gone, and I didn't want it to blindside Jack Sr. So I went to Jack Sr. and I said, "Jack Sr., I need to talk to you about a problem down at Trammell." And this technique he used is very helpful. He said, "Ben, I cannot talk to you now." This was like Thursday. "I can put you on my calendar for Tuesday, or you make whatever decision is necessary and I will back that decision. I can put you on my calendar for Tuesday, or you make the decision now and I will back that decision. So many times in our lives, business and personal, we can't be 2 places or 3 or 5 places at once. We have to make a choice. But if you, in the business, if you talk to your partners and explain the situation and make this kind of judgment, even if they don't have to make a decision, you've set up a time for Tuesday. It works in your family. There's sometimes you're going to have to be on a business trip and not be able to be at a soccer game. But if you talk to your kid and call them when it's over, you've given them the next time I can be there. So I think that's a very good way to communicate with love and care and responsibility that I learned from Jack Sr. I think we mistake being nice with being servant leaders. And I believe being nice is a part of being a servant leader, but you also have to have tough love and you have to be tough. There's an analogy that I have used before, and I actually used it with Synovus. We were all trying to be the best 100 companies to work for, and so we were trading out discussions. And I went over to Albany and was talking to them. I had a whole bunch of bankers in the room, and they asked me the question, what do you do when an employee's not doing right and it's an employee-owned company and you're trying to be a servant leader? I said, well, you have a total duty when an employee is acting inappropriately to immediately talk to them. And I said, and you need to be fair, you need to be polite, but sometimes you have to be very, very firm. We must recognize that servant leadership has a tough component to it, or we will fail. Jack Lowe Sr. used to say, prophets are just like breathing. If we don't have them, we die. If we don't have them, we cannot be servant leaders. As we had a manager that had a very, very successful operation, but we in the headquarters did not understand how hard it was to go out and run a business. And so the manager had become very, very combative. And I was uncomfortable with this combativeness. It was creating dissension and inappropriate dissension in the company. So I got on an airplane and flew to see the manager. I said, would you meet me in the airport? And the individual met me in the airport. And I said, I came to see you because I got something I want to talk to you about. You've been very, very successful as a street fighter. You've been a good street fighter, and it's brought you to where you are. Now, I need for you to be a statesman. And I got back on the plane and came to Dallas. So focused messages are sometimes very, very important, and they're not always easy for either party. But we have in our leadership training crucial conversations. That's why we have crucial conversations. Communications and trust and love amongst one another, which means being honest sometimes to a fault, is part of what makes us a servant-led company. We were working hard to develop training for the whole company, and this wasn't just me at all. It was the whole company was working hard on training. And so the manager was Rod Johansson, and we had a big meeting of people about training and your career path and all of these things. And this is one of those single message sort of things that Rod did so well. He said, somebody tell me who's responsible for the training, for your training. Somebody said at that time the training director, and somebody said my supervisor, and somebody said the president of the company. And Rod simply picked up, he had a mirror, and he picked up a mirror and he said, let me show you who's responsible for your training. there you are. You are responsible for your training. And I think that is a very graphic representation of who's responsible for the training. We can help in the company with formats, with career paths, with plans, but each one of us individually has to assume responsibility for our own training. Create the vision of where you want to go, take your team there, and then you will have to eradicate old behaviors, because if you don't continue to keep on track, we humans revert to the past. Now, because of our servant leadership and the training I've learned here, I've added one other to it, and that is celebrate successes. An example of eradicating behaviors, I got a couple of them. One of them, and I don't remember who did it, I don't know if it was Graham Moore or Steve Cantor, but it was time for us. We'd been drawing drawings with pencils for years, but we had begun CAD, and CAD was a competitive advantage for us. We had to learn how to do it, and we would go to it, and then pencils would show back up. Go to it, pencils would show back up. So whoever the manager was, one day called everybody together, and he said, we're now going to do all drawings in CAD. There'll be no more pencil drawings. And he said, and the way we're going to prove that is I'm now going to every desk and y'all give me your pencils. He picked up every pencil in the area, and that eradicated the old behavior, and therefore we got on CAD much, much faster than people, and we're downloading to the shop much, much faster than other people. I think we had a pretty good run, but I think the world is changing, and I think that the 30 to 40-year-olds of today are going to meet those challenges better than we did. They're going to see it in a new light, and they're going to probably be smart enough to jump over some of the older folks in our organization who decided they want to move to a lateral post, and to put some youth into the organization, because that spark of youth and that fresh idea, you can't beat it. I think what we've got to do is seek leadership everywhere in our organization and watch those young players learn and emerge, and learn from them as they are learning the lessons that most of the lessons we old folks have learned, we wish we learned them because we were smart. We learned them because we did it wrong.